The US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has accused Russia and China of trying to create an international order based on force. He said both countries sought a world in which might was right. At a security conference in the Canadian city of Halifax, General Austin said failing to help Ukraine could lead to tyranny and turmoil elsewhere. The general warned of the dangers of allowing a big power to flout the rules.
You see, there are still rules in war. And if a big power can flaunt those rules, it encourages others to defy international law and international norms. So we are determined to defend those rules, and especially the bedrock principle of non-combatant immunity. Because the more that it's eroded, the more dangerous our world becomes.
During face-to-face talks on Monday, President Biden and the Chinese leader Xi Jinping agreed that competition between their countries should not be allowed to degenerate into conflict. The British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has offered Ukraine an additional $60 million worth of military aid. It was his first visit to Kiev since taking office. After meeting President Volodymyr Zelensky, Mr Sunak said it was deeply humbling to be in the city. Mr Sunak outlined how the aid would be used.
We are today providing new air defence support, including 120 anti-aircraft guns, radar and anti-drone equipment. We're extending our training for the Ukrainian armed forces to include specialist expertise from UK medics and engineers. And we are stepping up our support to help you through the cold, hard winter ahead.
Mr Sunak said Britain would continue to stand with Ukraine as it fought to end what he called a barbarous war. Negotiators at the UN Climate Conference in Egypt are working late into the night to try to reach a deal after 2 weeks of talks. A major agreement in giving money to developing countries for loss and damage caused by global warming appeared close to completion. But the US, Britain, the European Union and Switzerland have reopened discussions. From Sharm el-Sheikh, here's our climate editor, Justin Rolat.
This has been something that developing nations have talked about since the inception of these talks 30 years ago, back in 1992. They said as well as cutting emissions and helping developing countries adapt to the changes that climate change is bringing, there was also a requirement to help them cope with the immediate effects of climate change. So we're talking the droughts, the storms, the floods that climate change increasingly is bringing. Developed nations never wanted to talk about it. It wasn't even on the agenda until about 2 weeks before these talks started. And yet it looked hours ago like we had a deal, and now we're back talking about it all once again.
The official in charge of NASA's lunar spacecraft program has told the BBC that humans could be living on the moon within this decade. Howard Hu said the module's unmanned launch on Wednesday was the first step to long-term deep space exploration. He added that conditions would be different for astronauts from those who took part in the last lunar mission 50 years ago.
They'll have habitats, and they'll have rovers on the ground. That's what we're also working on at NASA. So not only are we able to work in delivering people to the moon, getting people down in the surface of the moon, they still have to have an infrastructure. They have to have a habitat to live in. They have the fancy rover they're going to drive around. But ultimately what it is it's more than living. It's really about science.
Malaysia's snap election appears likely to end with a hung parliament. Two opposition coalitions won most votes, though each fell far short of a majority. A record number of Malaysians voted on Saturday to try to end political uncertainty that has seen 3 prime ministers in as many years. The Election Commission said a coalition led by the opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim was ahead with 61 seats, while the rival alliance had 1 seat less. At least 20 people have died as a result of floods and landslides in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Officials say most of the victims died at a gold mining site in Rubaya in North Kivu province. An official from a local mining organisation said some people were missing underground. Australia have won both the men's and the women's Rugby League World Cup finals. The men beat Samoa 30 points to 10, scoring a try in the last minute of play. It condemned Samoa to a disappointing debut in a final. Earlier, Australia's women easily beat New Zealand 54 points to 4.
Hi, thank you for watching. I hope the videos are useful for you. Please subscribe to my channel using the button below.